Alright, after me reviewing all 10 episodes of Cosmic Fury, it was going to be a no-brainer for me to actually do a fix-it to Cosmic Fury. The core plot lines that they did put into it, I pretty much want to keep, because a lot of the ideas they came up with were fine. It's just the lack of time, picking areas to actually focus on, integrate things better, and adjusting that really awful ending that they came up with.
40 episode season.
The first and simple change that I would definitely do is make Cosmic Fury 40 episodes, because this season, with it introducing Fern, having Billy, wrapping up Zed, and potentially all of Power Rangers in one season, you can't do it in 10. You really can't do it fairly in 20. So the best option is to do what we used to do in the past. 20 episode seasons broken up into 2 sections. So that we can actually have a proper build-up with Ollie, allow most, if not all, the Q Ranger mechs to be used in the season, and, build up key important parts of the story that were severely lacking.
Zeta remains missing.
I mentioned this one in my Cosmic Fury reviews, but it would have made more sense to actually leave Zato hidden in mystery for most of the show until a certain point, because mainly he was brought back at the end of Dino Fury, then goes missing in Cosmic Fury in the first episode, and he's missing for a good chunk, then comes back later on, when you could simply leave him and pretend he's dead, and when he comes back, it feels more impactful. Now, obviously, because the story has changed and Zato's not in there, Mick goes on a journey to try to find all the other Cosmic Fury Zords that's been lost around various planets. So just still use that plot line, but tweak it where it's just coincidentally Mick finds Zato.
Zords are linked to the cosmic powers.
Now, another major issue I had with Cosmic Fury is the way they mishandled the Zords. Why weren't the Cosmic Fury powers just linked to the Cosmic Fury Zords instead of doing the whole, reconnecting them to the Dino Fury Zords? Because it just makes no sense why they have new suits out of nowhere if you're just reconnecting them from the old powers. The only reason why they really did this was because at the end of Cosmic Fury, Zed blows up the Zords. So then just change the story that he doesn't blow up the Zords. Instead, you can use that to their advantage. Obviously, they don't want to, film a final Zord fight with Lord Zed, because that would require a lot of extensive work that they can't do. So in this case, by linking the Zords to the Cosmic Fury powers, they won't summon them in the risk of them losing their powers again. Another reason why I want to do this is because we can have more episodes dedicated to the backstory of the Zords. We get introduced to these Cosmic Fury Zords that are cool and all, but where did they come from? In my story change to the Zords, we would actually get answers to what happened. Zato, behind the scenes, was the one who's going to be looking for the other Cosmic Fury Zords, while the Zords that were left on Zordania were to be the ones that were picked up by them initially, and he would find them later on. Through Zato, we would figure out, the backstory of where these Zords came from. If there are Cosmic Fury Zords, then that means there has to have been Power Rangers that used these in the past. And this was 2 teams of Power Rangers that they were dealing with an evil that unfortunately they couldn't win against, so they decided to ditch the Zords and hide them, and then that evil killed them. This would be one of the few times a Power Ranger team has failed. That's one thing that's never happened in the show, because it basically can't, but it would be a good way to explain where the Zords came from, so that they're not a blank slate where they're just objects that they can be just used throughout the episodes randomly, where there's not even a care of who's using who. Another thing that I wanted to also do with the Zords is help use these Cosmic Fury Zords to explain Zordania. We know Zordania from obviously MMPR, but again, why is there a planet called Zordania, but then we have a person called Zordon, and from a fan's perspective, were the Zords, labeled from Zordon, or were they labeled from Zordania? So it's kind of confusing. I would like to use the Cosmic Fury Zords to answer that little mystery that's just not explained. Zordania is the building place of Zords. Maybe it's because the natural materials on the planet are really good for Zord building, or it's the location of the planet where it's a good place to build Zords, so that maybe any evil cannot really get to it that easy. I would explain it as Zordon's name actually is a title and is not his original name. Think like Optimus Prime. He came to Zordania and learned how to build and maintain Zords from the original Zord builders on this planet, and he gained the title Zordon. In their language, it means something very specific of like, excellent, builder or something like that.
Cosmic Fury suits redesigned.
Now, a big thing that people really don't like is the Cosmic Fury outfits. Now, for the most part, I want to keep them as is, but I do want to redesign them in a couple of ways. The biggest change would be the helmets. Since I want them linked to the Cosmic Fury Zords, that means these new suits were of the original Cosmic Fury Rangers that they replaced. So I would modify the helmets to reflect the animals that the Zords are, as well as fill in the blank chest piece. I would put the Q Ranger Star emblem on their chest and to fill in that detail. This would also give additional backstory to the Cosmic Fury suits. The sole reason why the Cosmic Fury Zords use orbs and stuff is where each of the Rangers' home planets were from. That way they can integrate more of the Q Ranger stuff more into the show rather than just saying it as a funny joke of why there's all these orbs and stuff.
Zato and Amelia are both Red Rangers.
Now this is a personal thing for me. I would have preferred if Zato remained a Red Ranger and Amelia become the Red Ranger as well. You had Q Ranger, which had 2 Red Rangers as it is. It would have fit into the story. On top of it, the second Ranger was Phoenix. It would all still work out the same way that the show actually did the story. Amelia stepped up to become a leader. Zato went missing, so the powers picked her. But at the same time, you can also use this element of the Q Ranger story to foreshadow what you want to do with Zato. He's still a Red Ranger. He's the Phoenix, but at the same time, he has no team of himself.
Episodes featuring Tarek, Mick, and Heckle.
Now, the major problem for Cosmic Fury is the episode count, and that's why I wanted 40 episodes. The reason why I wanted 40 episodes rather than just the 20 is because the amount of stuff that actually is in the season. We have Fern, we have Mick, we have Billy, and then eventually we have Heckle. That is a lot of stuff. On top of the actual story itself, the Rangers lose their powers and they do this emergency teleport to a different planet and they go missing for a few episodes. What happens on Earth? You need more episodes to actually delve into these things. And it was also a waste of like Tarek. We had all that stuff set up, his forces, and there was just nothing done with Tarek while he was on Earth. So we don't really get to see Jay Borg, the news reporters, episodes that feature Tarek himself defending Earth, seeing how he has to deal with things. And obviously, one of the biggest questions is, what's going on with Heckle? How did he come here? Why is he here? And why does he disappear after just one episode? Bring back Mick, give him an episode with Tarek. So I would still try to stick to Heckle coming back for one episode, but also use this extra time to explain why he disappears. I would make a simple thing is that, yes, he gained the power of the Dark Ranger, but remember, this is the Dark Energem. It's extremely dangerous, and he's the one who's guarding it. It would make sense to have, I can use the power of the Dark Ranger, but I have to be careful with it. I have to use it for a limited amount of time, or it can potentially corrupt me, just like how Ollie went through it. Another thing, because remember, Keeper was training Heckle to become a guardian of the Energems. It would make perfect sense that he was able to wield the Energems to travel through the different dimensions and time like Keeper did. Also, bringing back Mick to Earth would answer like where did he go and what happened to him. At the time, he doesn't know the shield stuff is going on until it's too late. Mick crashes down. The Zord that he was in gets destroyed. You can lose one of the Zords because, again, there's only 7 new Rangers and not all 12 Rangers are used from Q Rangers, so you could get rid of ancillary Zords to fill in that problem. And then you can have Mick team up with Tarek and they devise their plans, but Mick unfortunately gets captured in the prisons like everyone else, and that explains where Mick went.
Fern and Billy are used better.
Another major change that I would do is have Fern and Billy get episodes. Now, I don't want Billy to become like a focus thing. It is dangerous when you bring back old characters. You want to have a proper balance of having the current season and the past season, have their time to shine. But at the same time, what they did in Cosmic Fury, Billy hardly did anything except be a plot point. Yes, he did act as like Yoda to Amelia in a few scenes, and he does save the day at the end by bringing his Megazord in and the other Zords coming in, and well, it's a good moment. And on top of which, Billy disappeared when Ollie returned, so they couldn't get any episode with Ollie and Billy to do something. And it's not because of I want the Blue Rangers to work together and whatnot. It's more of the sake of Ollie and Billy are the geniuses of the team, and I would love to see that interaction. And it was such a waste, especially because of Ollie being an evil ranger. It would make sense to do an episode with Billy and Ollie dealing with that issue because he went through it with Tommy. I had this interesting idea of an episode where they were hidden on the planet. Ollie figured out where the Rangers were. Because I linked the Cosmic Fury powers to the Zords, that means a lot of the old Dino Fury equipment, like the keys and stuff, were still left intact and not used up to make like the Cosmic Fury morphers. What could we do to work in a plot with Billy and Ollie? And at this point, obviously, Ollie is still evil. How do I get that to work? I would have had them attempt to use the Dino Fury key that lets them teleport and open a portal. That power is limited. It was originally only useful to move people, and they're trying to move an entire spaceship. Ollie finds the base. They're attempting to try to teleport using the Dino Fury key. He's trying to kill them. Everything goes down the drain. And in the process, Ollie and Billy get thrown into the portal and get sent to another planet. Now, this planet is a hellscape. Have electrical storms. It's windy. It's, dense in a forest and an unknown world. They don't know how they're going to figure out a way to get back to the other Rangers. So because they're in their Ranger suit, this electrical storm is attracted to it. So eventually it forces them to power down, and they have to work together and to get off this planet. And they try to figure out if they can use any technology that's on the planet to get off it. It gives David Yost an episode to act. He would be a main focus, Ollie would be a main focus, and it would give a full solid episode between them two together. And you can still also do the whole back and forth. Billy would be trying to help him. Ollie would be fighting and arguing with him. And then really nothing would change, but maybe that would be the start of the little inclination of maybe we can get Ollie to turn good through remembering his friends, through past Rangers' experiences in order to break that hold. Now, obviously, I had complaints with Fern, particularly in her episode. I would definitely redo her power origin story. The same idea I would keep. Solon gets captured, and she's the one who risks her life to rescue. And obviously, my change of linking to the Cosmic Fury Zords, that means Fern doesn't get linked to Solon. I really don't want Solon to have that ability to be linked, because then it just asks a million questions, like I said in my review. And this was a perfect time to actually use the Scorpion Zord, because the Sasori Kyutama, it's able to dig and go underground. So it's a perfect thing to use to rescue Solon. Obviously, Fern still has to have her moment. She's the one who has to decide, I'm going to go in and rescue her. And she just takes the morpher, teleports in. But then, everything goes down the drain because, she's not a fighter. They still get trapped inside the cave and they don't know what to do. I would include the Scorpion Zord into the story. Because of Fern risking her life and trying to protect Solon, the Scorpion Zord hears her plea and goes and helps them out. That Zord picks her as the new Ranger, and then you get a proper morph, let her earn it, and build it up to a dramatic moment. Another thing that I would also want to do with Fern is that because of the so little amount of episodes, you might as well not had Fern in the story, and it was completely unfair to her. The thing that you needed to do with Fern is that you needed to do episodes with her without Izzy. We've been through those stories. We don't need to see that dynamic anymore. We needed Fern to interact more with the other Rangers.
Evil Ollie has a journey.
Now, a major change I would do is actually use Evil Ollie, because you create this evil Ranger again and you do virtually nothing with him. And I understand it was because of the actor was busy, they didn't know what they could do with him at the time, so they had to film it in this way, but you still need to give him a story. So what I came up with, I would use him in two ways, because I do want to make two different versions of Zed's storyline. So I also want to have Ollie connected to a good resolution of Lord Zed and an evil resolution of Lord Zed. If I wanted to believe Lord Zed could be redeemed, I need to set up something early on. And Ollie would be a good place to start the seeds. After all these years, Lord Zed had followers people that worked under him, but they always failed, or he was used by people. You know, yeah, Goldar was like the most competent and he obeyed his orders, but Goldar was doing it because of fear. He wasn't really doing it in the sense of, I want to prove to my master I can do something good. This is where Ollie comes in. The one person that actually does good for Lord Zed is a human. Lord Zed would see Ollie, even though he's brainwashed to be evil, he still sees Ollie as a human, and he's accomplishing a lot of things. Like, think about it. You have an evil Blue Ranger. Pretty much no one knows Ollie was turned evil but the Cosmic Fury Rangers and everyone that was on Earth. You know, other planets wouldn't know what was going on. Power Rangers in general seem to be always known by various planets, and they're assumed good. You know, Ollie would be a perfect way to infiltrate planets. Maybe he has the option to have his old suit with his evil suit. He can switch to his old suit and pretend, he's the good guy, tricks everyone, gets the defenses down, Zed takes the planet over. And you could see Lord Zed loving Ollie because he's able to accomplish things that Goldar couldn't even do. But at the same time, when Ollie screws up, he'll say, I have failed you, my lord. I am to blame. Take it out on me. And he takes that responsibility. So I would try to link that for the good idea of Lord Zed. For the evil plotline for Lord Zed, this would affect Ollie when he turns good. Because, he's been doing all these horrific things. And even though he's not in control of his mind or body or what he was doing, when you get snapped out of this situation, tricking people, millions of people potentially be killed by your hands. And that needs to be explored in this story for Ollie. Just like how I complained in Green with Evil, where he would still feel that I did these things. That needs to be shown. Go deeper into that. Go where Ryan was going, but go one step further so that it becomes a major plot point later in the show where it starts causing problems for the Cosmic Fury team and Ollie himself. Just like how Philip couldn't get the Dino Charge powers to work with him because he was doing it for a personal gain reason. Do it in the other way. Ollie turns good, and out of frustration, out of guilt, out of anger, he tries to take his revenge out on Lord Zed, just going after him for blood, and that prevents him from using his Cosmic Fury powers. His own personal goal is to just kill Lord Zed, and he does not care about his team in those moments, where you can then have a point in the season where Ollie goes, you know what, I can't be trusted anymore. And he walks away, just much like how Ryan disappears for several episodes until he comes back later on. Can he turn back fully from being evil? Even though his body is no longer under control, he's been tormented in those aspects of what he did. On top of it, this would be a good way to give openings to Lord Zed. I want to have Lord Zed interact with more of the Rangers and the Rangers be good, but I don't want to have like, oh, the bad guy has a one-up out of nowhere. You can use this whole Ollie arc where he finally breaks free of the spell, comes back to the team, he goes away and leaves because he can't trust himself. He can't use the power, so he sees himself as useless. This would hurt the team's morale. What just happened? It's not his fault. Then you would have bickering. Amelia would be extremely affected by it, where it would give that perfect opening where Lord Zed could use that distrust, anger of the team, distraction to take over and do his ultimate plan. Good Zed ending. Now, like I said, even though I personally don't want Lord Zed to turn good, but I do want to explore the possibility of making a good ending of Lord Zed where it makes sense and uses a full season to their advantage to get that to work. Obviously, I do want to keep all the key elements, like, for example, Mucus and Slither do blow up Ollie's dino statue. We find out it fails. The idea of the corrupted powers being removed by destroying his statue was anticipated by Lord Zed, and he had a backup plan to prevent this. We would find out he creates a power coin for Ollie. We know Lord Zed's powers are very magic-based as well, and Rita could at any point in time could have taught him how to create a power coin. So it would be a good way to bring back that element and keep Ollie evil. For the season finale on episode 20, I do want to keep the whole Bajilia has been using Lord Zed for her plans. She uses her influence and power and steals the Morphing Master for herself. Because of Bejilia using Lord Zed, with his failures in the past, with minions constantly screwing up, with Rita taking advantage of him, he was betrayed by so many people. He's that angry and wants to get rid of her. Another change that I want to do is also move Zato's death. I like the idea of Zato using and exhausting his energy to save the team, but I wanted to use it in a much more better way rather than just being a bomb. Lord Zed and Bejilia are locked in a fight. Now, we know Lord Zed can deal with the Morphing Master. He was able to escape them. Now, obviously, Bejilia, or Master Bejilia, would have the combined powers of all the Morphing Masters, so obviously he can't win. The Cosmic Fury Rangers cannot win either. Both of them are fighting on two fronts of Bejilia, and nothing is working. This would be the perfect place to use Zato's shield. Zed and the other Cosmic Fury Rangers are at her mercy, and the only thing he could do is create that shield. The shield protects everyone, but Zato pays the price and he dies. The same plot line of Aeon meeting Zordon pretty much happens the same way. For the Cliffhanger's case, all the Rangers basically retreat and get teleported by Zato to another planet. Because now they're isolated on another planet and they have to regroup, Zed is forced to work with the Rangers for the remainder of the second season. Obviously, we find out what was going on really quickly between Zato and Zordon and all the stuff inside the Morphin Grid. I would keep that a mystery throughout the entire season until the finale. Now, throughout the 20 episodes, Zed is forced to work with the Rangers. Obviously, he'll not like it. The Cosmic Fury Rangers would not like it. Especially Billy would not like it. But the Cosmic Fury Rangers would force Zed, under the circumstances, to release Ollie from his, evilness. He releases him, destroys the power coin, and they all work together. So how does the finale actually work? Because everything's all changed around. So if Zed is working with the Rangers and Billy is with them, we have to devise a plan in order to still have Billy leave at some point. So the way I would restructure the final episode is that Bejilia is using her powers and is taking down planets left and right. Billions upon billions of people are endangered, are dying, and the Rangers have to stop her at all cost. In my rewrite, the Cosmic Fury Rangers cannot use their Zords, because if they do, and she takes down the Zords, they lose their powers. So that is locked out. We don't have to worry about the Q Ranger footage, and they have to devise a plan to do. So Billy says, well, we don't really know what to do. Her power seems to be unlimited. Zed doesn't have any suggestions. What can we do? So Billy says, I'll try to gather up as many Rangers as we can, get other Zords, and see if we can help you fight Bejilia. So pretty much that Zord fight will still happen the way it happens in the main episode. Another thing that I really hated about this was that, Lord Zed was the main villain and you had Billy in this season, but you didn't have Billy be a part of the final fight. He should have been there. So I want to also fix that issue as well. While the Rangers deal with Bejilia on the planet with Lord Zed, and now the planet could be anything. It could be, Eltar, but it could be other planets. It could be KL35. It could be unknown planets. It doesn't really matter the setting. It's more of the focusing solely on Master Bejilia versus Zed and everyone. Now, one thing that also needs to be dealt with is Zato helping out as well. Because just like in the real episode, Zato does come in at the last minute. And since I'm modifying the story, I wanted Zato to be the one who comes up with the idea of combining the weapons and using his newfound power as a Morphing Master, after all the same stuff that happens behind the scenes with Aeon and Zato in the grid, and using that ability. He's the one who creates the canon, and he funnels his Morphing Master energy into the canon, combining all the Cosmic Fury powers, Lord Zed, Billy, everyone, including Zato's energy into the canon. It would actually be able to take her out and blow her up. Now, after these 20 episodes, Zed has been working with the Rangers this whole time. A repertoire would form between the two of them. Obviously, it would not be anything amazing, but, they won. They defeated Bejilia. The Morphing Masters were freed. They can go back to normal. Zed accomplished his goal of his revenge. What would happen in a situation like that? You would have this awkward moment where everyone's cheering and everyone's happy, but then you remember the history between Zed and Billy and what went on in the first 3 seasons of MMPR. But at the same time, they're both conflicted. Zed saved the universe, and cooperated with the Rangers. So it's like, oh, how would you feel? What could you do? I think I would see Zed and Billy be at a standoff. I think they would look across from each other and just sit there for a few seconds. The other Cosmic Fury Rangers in the background would see this, and they would try to break that. Oh, we saved the day, and all that Billy went through, it would be too hard to really do that. And of course, Zed is not going to be, kind and nice. So I would see Zed walking off and teleporting away, and that would be the last time we would ever see him. And this is where Billy has his conundrum. I would have, Billy, walk up to where Zed disappeared, pull out his coin, his suit shuts off, he looks at his coin, and you would just, be remembered of what happened to that power coin. You would feel, can we really trust Zed? And at the same time, you would also be thinking, he didn't attack them. He could have at any point in time attacked them, try to kill them. He chose not to. And I think that would be the best way to handle it, because there's a lot of baggage that comes from MMPR and Zed that you really can't overlook. At the same time, I don't want the scene to be drawn out so much where the Cosmic Fury Rangers get buried. They have to have their conclusion, their closing of their stories. The scene would end with the remaining MMPR Rangers jumping out of the Megazord and, coming in to congratulate everyone. Evil Zed Ending. The evil ending. I want him to be stopped once and for all. I don't want him to be redeemed after what he's done in all the past seasons and what he's been doing in Cosmic Fury. The final episode would play just much like the good ending. He's Master Zed. Zato remains alive until this moment. So pretty much a combination of what happens in the real episode, as well as Ollie is broken free, just like with Slither and Mucus. But the way Zato's shield comes up would be slightly different. Ollie's still angry at Lord Zed, so he's going after him. We find out Red Morphing Master Staff is able to injure Master Zed, so Zato's fighting him. We have Aeon fighting him directly as well, because Aeon is worried about Zato's life. So we have the three of them going toe-to-toe with Master Zed, and the fight is not going good. The other Rangers are all badly injured behind the scenes. Amelia's trying to attend to them. She's scared because now Ollie's in direct danger of Master Zed, because he's, his anger's through the roof of what happened. He's trying to keep himself composed, but it's still a very difficult thing for him to balance. Zed targets Ollie because after his, he was another person that betrayed him, screwed with him. So Ollie was about to get killed by Master Zed. Amelia rushes up to him to try to cover him. Zato sees what's going to happen and has no choice but to bring up a shield. Master Zed fires, the shield absorbs the attack, massive explosion happens. Zato dies like he does in the real episode, and Master Zed is thrown back. Aeon follows him into the morphing grid just like the real episode. And then we come back to Master Zed, and we find out that Zed actually lost his powers. Zato used everything in his power to knock him out, and Red Morphing Master Staff was vaporized in the process. Now, the other Morphing Masters are unable to do anything because when Zato got him out of his body, all of them were weakened. So they're basically knocked out and unconscious and unable to do anything. While this is going on, Billy is still fighting, and Megazord and all the other Zords are dealing above the planet and all the forces. He's monitoring the situation where he sees Zato died, Aeon is unresponsive, Amelia and Ollie were barely alive from the explosion, and the other Rangers were still injured, and they need a distraction. They need something. He initiates tank mode and takes Pterodactyl down to the planet. While Pterodactyl is blasting him with her laser bolts, Aeon and the Zordon stuff happens, and everyone is just trying to think of, how can we deal with Lord Zed? They're badly injured. They can't summon Zords. Everyone else in orbit is preoccupied with forces. Ollie and Billy are trying to figure out and devise a plan. Aeon Spirit does eventually come back during the fight. He wakes up. He's pissed off, so he's going after Lord Zed. Ollie and Billy, Amelia are going after Lord Zed. Ollie and Billy are trying everything. They're just thinking of something. He pulls out his weapons. He pulls out even Dino Fury keys. Billy, he pulls out his Thunder Slinger. He pulls out his Power Lance. He even uses his metallic armor. Any weapons and abilities they have, they try everything on Lord Zed. We even get a moment where Ollie, clashes with Lord Zed, and he says something like, "You had me threaten my own mother," which gives, Billy that moment of him remembering Return of an Old Friend of what happened to his family. While everyone is fighting, this desperate fight, Amelia eventually hears Zeto's voice. And he basically says, we need to combine everything. And he's the one who comes up with the Cosmic Fury cannon. He uses his energy as now a new morphing master to create this cannon, while the pterodactyl, Billy, are trying to keep Lord Zed preoccupied while they charge up this new ability. Eventually it buys them enough time where they can fire the cannon. Billy joins in and uses his Blade Blaster Thunderslinger combo, and they finally blow up and kill Lord Zed once and for all. Obviously, there are a lot of things that are missing, and there's still plot things that I don't really have connected properly, but I think this would feel as a much more conclusive ending and a more fair ending to everyone in Cosmic Fury. We would have enough time to explore Fern. Billy is present in the final fight with Lord Zed, and on top of it, the major, big, important thing above all, Lord Zed gets a final fight to the Cosmic Fury Rangers, because that was the one thing I absolutely hated. All it felt like when we got the real final episode of Cosmic Fury is that every which possible way to prevent them from doing a final fight. I could buy him giving up that power to save his own butt. After that point, I didn't believe anything, because the moment he got out of the tube, especially when the Rangers were passed out on the floor and he was huge, I understand why they did that. It was kind of like him reflecting, his ego was so massive and then it slowly shrank down. All he promised was to give up the power. He did not promise I won't fight you, I won't kill you after we get out of this tube. That Nightmare Planet was such a bad cop-out. There should have been a final fight with Zed and the Rangers in the last episode. So I wanted to give a conclusive ending to Lord Zed. No way to bring him back. He dies, and end of story. I also wanted to be fair to Billy. Billy comes back. He doesn't interact with Ollie. He doesn't really get to do much. And then on top of it, he doesn't even really fight Zed, except in the very first episode. I could totally understand why it's very difficult to write a satisfactory story, because you're trying to balance so many things. I don't want to overshadow the Cosmic Fury Rangers. But at the same time, you bring in Fern, you bring in Billy, you bring in Heckle, you have all this really cool stuff, Ollie being evil, and it was all wasted because of lack of time. Work with the Zords so they don't feel like just props to a plot line, and just work around the Sentai footage as best as you can, integrating all this original stuff. I think it would have worked out much better, and I think it would have felt like a much more satisfactory ending. Even though I don't like the good ending of Zed, I think that would be a perfect balance of it, because it still satisfies my position of I don't buy him turning to the good side, but it still allows that inclination of maybe he'll turn good, but at the same time still respects of what happened, because ultimately what sucked the most was that Zed did these horrific things and the writers are just trying desperately to say, I just don't want to have a final fight to deal with. We need to wrap up this story. What do you guys think of my changes? Do you like certain things? Do you hate all of it? It doesn't matter what you think. Leave a comment down below on does my suggestions work better, or would you still prefer how Cosmic Fury did those things? My fixes are just here for fun and to see if we can just get the stories to work much better, but also retain the positive aspects of what the writers came up with in Cosmic Fury.